Hello, I'm Jack Nardi, and this is Security in Implanted Medical Devices. So this is a paper that I wrote last semester for my final for English. Who am I? Jack Nardi, first year cybersecurity. I'm from New Jersey, big sports enjoyer. So the Jersey Devils, best team in hockey. Those are my two dogs. One of them likes to stand on tables. She's a little funny. Um, I'm just a silly little guy doing silly little things. So, what is an IMD? It's an implanted medical device, which is an instrument, apparatus, implant, machine, or any other way you really say a computer that you put inside your body that fixes a disease or a condition. These can be anything from cochlear implants, insulin pumps, cardiac devices, but this talk is more focused on cardiac devices like pacemakers, which is this little guy, or actually, this is the reader that catches what the pacemaker says. And that's your pacemaker up there. That goes on your heart. And it basically checks if you have a heart attack. So this little wireless device goes next to your heart, and that'll read the data off of the pacemaker and send it to this little hub over here, which goes to the tablet. And that's how the doctors check what's going on with it. So why can this be dangerous? The medical field is very bad at InfoSec. This was a Google search I did last week, and you can see just the list of cyber attacks that go on in the medical field. And this is mainly because they don't care about security, and they just want things to work. So, as Kenny once said, how can this be used offensively? Don't use it offensively. It can hurt people. So, this is research from 2008 at the University of Massachusetts. They were using a software-defined radio and a oscilloscope. They were able to capture the packets coming between the programmer and the cardiac device. Oh, wrong slide, my bad. So using that, they were able to decode the wireless communication and came out into plain text. And by checking out various different things that checking out various things that the programmer is sending, they could find data including the patient's name, date of birth, medical ID, and their history. And they were also able to induce telemetry, which is when the medical device tries to talk to the programmer by just placing a little magnet next to your chest. So with this, it's a little bit dangerous. You can see how they get data on you, and that's a little scary. So then they went on to do replay attacks, and the basic premise was to record the wireless signals produced by the programming device and then just replay them. And this kind of identified that there was a big vulnerability because they were just able to replay the signals, and it would just produce the same outcome as if the programmer did it. So the first thing they replayed was the identification signal, and that responded with the model and serial number of the device. And then they tried to do the interrogation command, which replayed the patient data, including the name, date of birth, medical ID, and history. So if an attacker did that, they would just have all of your information, all of your medical history. And they were also able to replay the interrogation command by using the magnet and inducing telemetry. And if an attacker were to just come up to you with a magnet, they could get all this data on you. And another command they ran was able to change the patient's name on the device and set the clock. So they were able to change data, which is a breach in the integrity of the data. And they were able to then change the therapies, which is how one of these devices responds to cardiac events. So if you're having a heart attack, it'll induce one of these therapies and basically shock your heart back into rhythm. But they were able to just completely turn them off. So it was really dangerous. And then they were able to actually induce fibrillation, which is where it shocks your heart, using these commands. So if an attacker were to do this, they could just shock your heart and stop it, and that would kill you, which is not good. So then they found some defenses, and their main concerns with these defenses were the cost, the size, and the power consumption. Because to change the battery on these things, you have to actually go back into surgery and change the battery. So the first thing they did was install this little device onto it, which is the size of a quarter, which is really small, and it fits the size conditions perfectly. And this device consumes no power because I am not a EE or a wireless expert, but it harvests the power from the radio signals that the device produces. And so when telemetry is induced, it'll make a little beeping sound, or when a command is made, it'll make a little beeping sound to notify the person who has the device that something is happening. And then the next thing they did was they started using encryption. So they incorporated a basic encryption algorithm into the data. So when it's transmitted, now instead of just being in plain text, it would be hidden behind encrypted data, and it was much safer for the patient. The last thing they did was create this basic authentication program using a master key, which is transmitted by the pacemaker. And through this, they're able to verify that the commands that are sent to the device are actually coming from the programmer and not from an attacker. Any questions? Yes, Connor? What's stopping people from killing people with pacemakers? How good are you at wireless communication? He said not too good. That's probably it. But if you were good, this is a 2008 study, so there's probably been more research into the field and developments in the security and safety of it. Masaki, do you have a question? Yeah, they so by putting a little magnet up to it, they had a little magnet right here that would induce telemetry, which basically means it's going to start transmitting data and trying to make a connection to the device.
I also know that with phone that you guys you can just turn it off. Is there any way to seal the anything like that?
I don't know. That's not something I found in the research actually, but that's interesting. Anthony? Never mind. Okay. Anything else? If you want to read my 10-page paper, you can also ask me on Discord. Yes, Chase.
One last thing. You know, there's some wearable device that you can have on you that isn't affected by wireless communication. You know what one of those things would be?
Is it a lanyard?
It is a lanyard.
Woo!